Hold on one second. We about to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. This don't make no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the Dark Waters channel, where we explore mysteries, figure out the truth, dive into politics, and anything else you want to know about. That's what we doing over here, baby. Let's go.
Now, this is a gentleman that confuses the hell out of me. You know, a couple of days ago, I said I ain't never heard Nick Fuentes say nothing that was too crazy. Then today, I'm looking around Nick Fuentes talking retarded. I don't understand the Nick Fuentes thing. I know he has the biggest podcast on the planet right now. And it's starting to worry me. And I'm just going to share with you why. The individual himself doesn't worry me. It's the spiritual pattern and system that's worrying me. And what I mean by that is this. You have the revival going on in America. Massive revival. You also have what's called the massive rejection going on in this nation. So, excuse me, that's the methylene blue. I apologize. You also have a cultural clash going on in America, right? And so here's the Christian ethos as it comes to that. The first commandment of Jesus Christ is love thy neighbor, all right? And so we have a generation of kids who came up in their whole life. They've been taught that because you're white, you're less than. Because you're white, you're bad, right? And out of that contention of DEI and this artificially created dissension, we have a generation of young men, specifically young men coming up that have trauma. That's the word I'm looking for. They have a trauma. And that trauma is being told because of your skin color, you're less than. It's the kingdom of darkness doing the same thing to young white men that they did to black people, just in a different way. And so now you have a group that's going through a revival, and they of the Spirit of God. And so they're just enjoying themselves. They're getting ready to go on a battlefield. But then we have this other group that representation is rising up for them, and they've all been traumatized. And that's truly what it is. Those young men have been traumatized. Those young women have been traumatized. Think about it. You got CRT in schools where they're telling you, oh, you have a white advantage because your skin is white. And it was dual traumatization. But everybody only talks about the traumatization that happens to black people. And I'm just going to keep it real. I'm going to talk about the traumatization that happens to everybody. And so this trauma is like a serpent that poisons the heart. And what worries me about what's happening with Nick Fuentes is he's reached a point where his platform, his position on the mountain is so strong that he can be a danger. He can be an asset, or he can be a liability. He truly can be, because with his voice, he can sit up there and sway a whole generation. And I think that's why you see people like Tucker Carlson, Alex Jones talking to him, trying to play a mentorship role. And then you see anybody who tries to talk to him, they're attacked. It's almost as if Nick Fuentes is being isolated. They want him to evolve in this bubble with no guidance from any elders. They want him in this bubble. It's almost like a test tube baby that they want in a bubble. And this is not me insulting the guy. I'm just trying to find a metaphor to explain what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing. And because nothing else makes any sense. It just don't make no damn sense. Take a listen.
There's a really interesting article about Vance that was written by David Frum a few years ago. And for those that don't know, David Frum is your prototypical liberal Jewish neocon Republican. So David Frum writes an article about J.D. Vance. I think this was last year, a couple of years ago. It was in the Atlantic. And it turns out that Vance was writing for Frum in 2011. When J.D. Vance was in his mid-20s, after he left the Marines, before he went to Yale Law School, Vance was writing for Frum. And he was writing, among other things, in defense of affirmative action, writing in defense of the war in Iraq. He was a neocon. He wrote 6 articles for Frum in 2011, 15 years ago, when he was my age. At this very early stage, before Vance went to law school, before he wrote Hillbilly Elegy, before he's anybody, David Frum writes that everybody on his team believes that Vance will play an important role in national politics as the leader of moderate conservatism, that Vance would recapture the GOP from the Tea Party and from the populists for the moderates. You have to wonder, what would make someone like David Frum, a Jewish neocon, believe that a 25-year-old veteran who was really a journalist in the Marines, didn't even see combat, what would make him think that this obscure blogger would play a national role in politics leading moderate conservatism? His articles were that good? But Frum says, he tells us what makes him believe that. He says that J.D. Vance's superpower is his credibility. And his credibility comes from his personal narrative. What's his personal narrative? Hillbilly Elegy. That he's got this story about being from the Rust Belt and emerging from strife. So,
And I played a segment of it because I want you to see how dangerous this mouthpiece is. That's a man with an anointed mouthpiece. I'm just telling you. That's an anointing on that kid's tongue. Now, does he know it? I don't freaking know. I don't know the dude. But you see how he had the ability to pull you in? It was almost like sucked all the air out of the room, whoosh, right to him. And this is what worries me about this. You don't get that ability at that age. I'm sorry, that ability at that age, And it doesn't give me the feeling when I'm listening to him, I don't feel like I'm watching him read from a script. His body language, his communication is not a man who's reading from. It's not even memorized. This is a talking point that he sat down, turned on the camera, and started to make. I mean, essentially, that's what it is. Turn on the camera, start running it. And what's so dangerous about it is for someone his age who does not have the experience of age, what he neglects is men change over time. So the young man that he is at this age will not be the same man he is 20 years from now. His beliefs that he holds right now will not be the same beliefs that he holds 20 years from now. So yeah, J.D. Vance could have been the golden child of said, GOP rhino Republicans. He could have been one of many golden children. But said man then is not said man now. It's no different than people who will say, well, Tulsi Gabbard was a part of the World Economic Forum. Sure was. Vladimir Putin was a part of the World Economic Forum young leader. Sure was. They're trying to kill Vladimir Putin right now. Tulsi Gabbard destroying them right now. But if you go back to Tulsi Gabbard when she was then in that position, you'd be like, yeah, Tulsi Gabbard's with the globalists. She's this. We negate, it's the pride of youth. And that's what it boils down to. And that's what, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting it. Like I told you, the attacks on anybody who supports him is almost as if someone wants him to develop in this bubble. No outside influence. Oh, Tucker Carlson can't talk to him. Or Alex Jones had him on. This person, anybody who approaches him, because he's got this massive audience, anybody that approaches him to get involved and get on his show and target and swing that audience in any direction is attacked. That's what worries me about this young man. That and this dang on anointing on his tongue. That's power right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's a level of power that you rarely see. I just want to point it out to you. You rarely see that kind of power on a young man's tongue. You go look at the top podcasts. Nobody that age outdoes Joe Rogan. Nobody that age outdoes Alex Jones. Nobody that age outranks all the news stations. And so that's somebody who attention needs to be paid to. That's someone, and somebody will say, well, you know, are you trying to say he needs to be led? Yeah. Somebody gonna have to say, little brother, come over here. We need to talk to you, little brother. Say, little brother. You know what I'm saying, little brother? You can't be saying some of the things you're saying, little brother. We got to show you some things, little brother. Because if not, we'll find ourselves in a world where a whole generation of young men have patterned themselves after him. Don't believe me? Hold on. We'll let's go look at one of the examples. We'll look at one of the people that a whole generation has thus far patterned themselves against or around right now. Here's one of the gentlemen here, Andrew Tate. You don't know how many young Christian men converted to Islam because they follow behind Andrew Tate. It's a lot of them. It's a hell of a lot of them. A hell of a lot. Why? Because he's on a mountain of influence in a place, and he actually has outside of the running the webcam girls thing. I mean, he has a great message as it pertains to masculinity, being in shape, being able to fight, being able to try and build wealth. He doesn't have the family oriented thing that's from a Christian perspective, but he's a person that you would take a piece of what he brings and then combine it with something else. But for a young man in his young age, a very young man, they will take everything from him. They will mimic him. And you've seen it all over the place. And that mimicking will lead them down the wrong road. And it will lead you to be like him. And that's the danger when these voices are not challenged or when we don't pay attention to these voices. It's the best way to put it. And in this case, with this young man, Nick Fuentes, I think attention needs to be paid to this voice. I'm sorry. I don't know what the hell is going on, but something is going on right there, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I can tell you. All right, you want to know the James Williams, Dark Waters, I'm out of here.